This is the Hodag, and he is a local Wisconsin cryptid. And despite his draconic appearance, he's very much a fae. But you might be asking yourself, especially if you're not from the area,
what the heck is a Hodag?
What the heck is a Hodag?
What on earth is a Hodag?
What in tarnation is a Hodag?
What the heck is a Hodag?
Well, of course, I know what a Hodag is.
What's a hoe?
No. I'm so sorry. We're looking for what is a Hodag. Wait, what is a Hodag?
Hodag? What the hell's a Hodag?
What even is a Hodag?
Sorry, what's a Hodag?
Hoda be whatin' dog?
What the heck is a Hodag?
Misty, what the is a Hodag?
and maybe more importantly, why I'm covering it here on a channel where I mostly talk about D&D and other tabletop games. Well, it's because it's Monster Week 2026, and this week is all about the Fae and folklore. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about what makes a Fae, folklore, the Hodag's role and everything, and I'll even throw in a stat block for you to use at future D&D games so that you can bring this guy into your world as well. So let's get into it, and let's start with the basics. What makes a Fae? A Fae. Fairy tales are kind of their own subgenre of folklore, and folklore is tales that are passed down orally through a culture, and usually there's some sort of morality conversation involved. You know, it's something that you want to look up to as a child. A great example of this is Paul Bunyan and Babe the Big Blue Ox, Johnny Appleseed, and John Henry here in North America. All of these stories are predominantly orally told folk tale. At least they were back before animation got them kind of more widespread. The biggest difference between these folkloric heroes and a Fae creature is what they represent. Paul Bunyan and John Henry are representations of the willpower of man. They're strong, unbelievably oversized, truly larger than life, literally humans, who are here to show the willpower and indomitable strength of the human mind. Fae, on the other hand, often represent the nature side of things. They're entities, creatures of the forest and wood, warnings to not mess with this taboo or to not go into the woods too late at night because a fairy will swoop you away. There's tried and true lore as well of them being responsible for the changing seasons and the things that can't quite be explained by science. In short, Fae are representations of nature. And because folklore is often passed down orally, there's a lot of inconsistencies in these stories, which feels fitting because why on earth would humans have a direct, consistent story for creatures so alien as the Fae? Fae are these alien foreign creatures that influence our own nature and our own natural world. So it makes sense that we maybe don't quite have the perfect understanding of what they can and can't do, and some people will say one thing and some will say others. So knowing that, let's answer the original question.
Oh yes, of course, a Hodag. Well, that's a, I don't know what the hell that is.
What is that?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, I know what a Hodag is. But why don't you tell everyone else? Why don't you tell, and I'll see if you're right. Go ahead, Misty, you go ahead.
What is a
Hodag?
Misty, what the heck is a Hodag?
No, but seriously, what the heck is a Hodag?
In the pines of Rhinelander, Wisconsin is where the Hodag resides. It is said that a Hodag is born from the ashes of oxen, the incarnation of abuse suffered by the animals at their master's hands. It is half reptile, half bull with huge curved spines all along the back. It's got multiple rows of sharp teeth, not unlike a shark, and orange-red eyes that are said to mimic that of the sunset here in central Wisconsin. See, back in the 1890s when timber barons reigned supreme, forestry was one of the biggest industries in Wisconsin. And oxen were used to do a lot of the heavy lifting, literally. Unfortunately, at the time, abused and overworked animals were not uncommon, which caused the Hodag to surface seemingly out of nowhere. It defended the forest, scaring away the loggers and protecting those oxen that it calls brethren. It is a spirit that was summoned in response to the pain and suffering of multiple work animals of the time. This is the Hodag, and it is the fey creature that has been protecting these forests since 1893. But that still leaves the question, is the Hodag a fey? I mean, I think so. The Hodag is a creature that was summoned or created because of the hubris that humans had to overwork their animals. It is inherently tied to the woods and the forest up here, and the work animals tasked with clearing it as part of the timber industry. It's a wild beast. It's not someone to look up to like a folklore hero, but rather it's a warning that if you touch the taboo, if you poke around in things that you're not supposed to poke around in, if you go against the wishes of nature, you'll find yourself squared up with a beast like this itself. That sounds extremely fey to me personally. Fittingly, I did see articles referencing Paul Bunyan and the Hodag squaring up against each other, but I couldn't actually find the story itself written anywhere. I think that's kind of fitting for the fact that the Fae and folklore are passed down how they are and they shift and change over time. Like most folkloric tendencies, things are shared via a he said, she said situation, which only makes them grow. And that kind of makes it more fun because you can put your own spin on it. So if the Hodag ever interacted in any sort of Paul Bunyan story that you know of, please let me know in the comments. But I love that people have made these myths and legends and turned it into exactly what they need for their community. Which is kind of what I did, because I've made the Hodag into a stat block that you can use in D&D. I've made it a CR8 Fae, and it has some pretty fun abilities, like getting advantage if it sees a beast getting injured or a beast-like creature. So if your druid is in wild shape and the Hodag sees that, they're gonna get advantage in squaring up against whatever it is that caused that pain to your druid. Potentially, at least. I think the Hodag actually has two different purposes that it can serve in a D&D world. Depending on what you think your party would be interested in, it could be friend or foe. As far as friendship goes, imagine your party finds out that the Feywild forests that they've been adventuring in is under threat. The Hodag has arrived to protect the forest from something that's causing a mess. And if the players feel like helping out a forest spirit and maybe riding it into battle and doing some cool kaiju fighting, this is absolutely a way to do that. Or maybe it's been wounded and asks the players to help because it is preoccupied and taking care of another part of the forest. Or if you want it to be a foe, maybe it's running rampant. It is seeking vengeance because of one person's bad choices that has angered it and pissed it off beyond comprehension. You'll have to knock it out to stop the chaos and to stop it from continuing to kill and burn and destroy everything. But a Hodag can't quite be killed the way you would think. See, it's born from the ashes of cremated oxen, so if the need arises, the Hodag will return, and it's not going to forget. And that's the Hodag. But here's where I do need to burst some bubbles, unfortunately. In our real-life world, the Hodag was confirmed as a hoax in the 1920s. Gene Shepard had made the whole thing up back in 1893 and had continued his hoax for that long until Smithsonian scientists were heading out to investigate the creature. He was known to be a prankster his entire life, but despite that, the Hodag made it actually to Hollywood despite just being a prank from the 1800s. He's actually in an episode of Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, as well as Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And that's kind of the amazing thing about folklore and the Feywild. B.J. Hollars said it best in his book Midwestern Strange: where facts fall short, fiction flourishes. And that's the case for most Fae stories. While yeah, the Hodag did start as a hoax, it was real enough for everyone to take a step back and really consider what may have caused its ire. And maybe, just maybe, because it worked, that was the spirit of the Hodag in itself, and maybe it's not as fake as we once thought. Because the spirit of the Hodag very much still lives on to this day. And now you know. So the next time someone asks,
what the heck is a Hodag?
What's a Hodag?
What the heck is a Hodag?
Is that a Pokemon?
Hodwa, Hodhu, Hodogwa.
Now what in the heck is a Hodag?
you will have a stat block and some answers to go along with it. Happy Fae Week, happy Monster Week 2026. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment. That does really help out the channel. And thank you to everyone who helped out with this video. Please be sure to go check out the other amazing creators in this playlist for Fae Week.
That is true, but I already knew that.
That's the Hodag for you. Totally knew what that was the entire time. Good job, Misty. You got it right.
Thanks again, and I will see you next time.